In the NFL here at SBRForum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We're talking right now with returning guest Dave Golokhov, senior sports columnist for AskMen.com. And Dave has graciously agreed to discuss the two games that don't have lines yet, 2 out of the 3 games that don't have lines yet for Week 17. We just got finished talking about Browns-Steelers, where, I'm convinced that the Steelers in the first half is a decent bet. Now we're going to talk about Raiders-Chargers. I'll come right out and say it. I have no read on this game at all. I don't know how you can possibly bet any angle. Who knows what the lines are going to be? What do you think, Dave Golokhov?
You know, it's funny. When you emailed me earlier in the week, I felt exactly how you just described. But I actually really like the San Diego Chargers in this game. You know, given the situation with the coaching staff and the front office, I wouldn't bet my future child's university fund on it. But I think it's a pretty solid play, and I'll tell you why. Look at the Oakland Raiders throughout the season. They've been bad all year long. Their only wins have really come against the Kansas City Chiefs. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they had a fluky win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And as it turns out, the Steelers are in fact not, they're not even a 500 team. So the Raiders have been brutal. They've been even worse over the last, 10 weeks or so, talking about a team that was blown out by Tampa Bay, blown out by Baltimore. They gave up 38 to New Orleans, 34 to Cincinnati. They lost at home to Cleveland. They lost at home to Denver. They lost in Carolina. Carolina's been playing better, but they're not great this year. Now they have to go on the road to San Diego without Carson Palmer. And when you look at the Raiders, I would say Carson Palmer, considering the scrubs that the Raiders have used at quarterback over the last 5 years or so, Carson Palmer's actually had a pretty good year. Doesn't have many receiving weapons, but to go to San Diego without Palmer is a big deal. It's a big drop-off to Matt Leinart or Terrell Pryor. On top of that, the San Diego Chargers, there's not a lot of positive things you can say about their season, but if you look at that defense, it's actually played pretty well, and it's sort of, one area where they can hang their hat on. They had 11 sacks last week, tying a franchise record. Cam Thomas and Melvin Ingram have been great for them this year, and I see them as being able to get plenty of pressure on the Raiders. And, with Oakland, the one thing you bank on if you're betting them is, Darren McFadden or that running game getting going. But listen, the Chargers have been consistent on ground defense all year long, 4th against the run. So if you're betting Oakland this week, you're looking at their passing game as being without Carson Palmer, which is a big detriment, as I mentioned. And their running game's probably not going to get going. If you unleash that Chargers pass rush on them, I don't see Oakland getting many points. The last point I'll make is on the flip side, you've got the Raiders 29th in points allowed on defense against Phillip Rivers. And, North Turner's probably gone at the end of this game, but what do we know North Turner for? He likes to hurl the ball around. The Chargers don't have a running game to rely on. So you're going to see Phillip Rivers passing the ball quite a bit against a very weak defense. And on the flip side, you're going to see a Raiders team kind of spinning their wheels against a pretty good defense. Motivation, probably about equal on both sides. It's rivalry. It's a division game. So all things equal from the sort of inspirational, motivational sense, I do like the Chargers regardless of the spread in this game. I think this is a blowout.
All right. So what spread do you think you meant? I'm guessing like maybe 6.5, or maybe we'll see 7.5. I can't
really,
tell.
I actually was thinking higher.
Really?
I think like the other game we discovered, we're probably going to see over a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised if it's up to 10 points. The Chargers have played well, relatively speaking, over the last month or so. Phillip Rivers, again, roughly speaking, has been pretty good over the last month. You look at the Chargers, they've taken advantage of some of these teams who have been playing for nothing. They beat up the Jets, who were, similar mindset last week as the Raiders will be this week. I forget, a couple weeks before then, they beat somebody, sandwiched in with that Carolina loss. They beat somebody else who was, sort of in this dead zone for motivation. So I think they beat the Steelers, didn't they not? I think that the Chargers in this spot will be fueled by a good defensive effort. Phillip Rivers is the better quarterback in this situation. The Raiders have been bad all year long. Even if Palmer was playing, I'd probably like the Chargers. Without him, and without a good running game, I think the Chargers cover the spread regardless what it is.
All right. Dave Golokhov, AskMen.com, calls for a blowout by the Chargers. Thanks for taking these two games, Dave. I really appreciate it. Tough to handicap games with all the uncertainties.